everyone, welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candice Murray. Thanks for joining me. I'll be your astrologer for the week. Happy Sunday. Hopefully you guys are doing well, enjoying your day off. And if you don't have a day off, should you be taking one? I don't know. I think we could all use a little bit of like a rest from what's going on in the cosmos right now. This is going to be the astro weather for July 23rd through the 30th, 2023. Do me a favor and make sure, if this is your first time here, drop me a comment below, say hello, give me a thumbs up, and click the button and make sure that you're subscribed to the channel so you're alerted as when we have new videos coming out. And if you think you're subscribed, check again. Just make sure that way you guys are on the up and up with what's going on. This is the weekly kind of report, the forecast that we do for the transits throughout this next week. We're going to go day by day and take a look at what's going on. But yeah, the volume's turned up a little high right now. How is everybody doing post Cancer new moon, post Sun in Cancer in opposition to Pluto in Capricorn? Man, that grand cardinal cross has just been like kicking ass all week long. So pretty much the big theme for this week is actually the fact that we are in Venus retrograde. Venus started her retrograde on the 22nd. But also we're going to see a really interesting aspect involving Venus this week, where Venus is retrograding. She is going through the sign of Leo. So we're reevaluating what we love, what we enjoy, how we can be more passionate, more creative, and get in touch with our inner romantic, our inner artist, our inner child. And Venus will be meeting up with Mercury right before Mercury goes into the sign of Virgo. So this would probably be the week that you're going to hear from the past in some capacity. Those of you guys who are a little bit more astro savvy, take a look at your chart, find which house Leo is in. You guys should know because we've talked all about the Venus retrograde in length. Lots of videos have been put out on that. So when we have this conjunction of a planet retrograding and meeting Mercury, it is going to bring up the past because it's retrograde. It's going to bring up conversation because it's Mercury. What's on our heart, Leo? And also Venus is about romance, about resources, about values. And this is likely going to be the transit where you hear from the past. Could be an ex, it could be a friend from the past, somebody who was an old coworker, a friend. Maybe you're a little bit more like reminiscent about relationships. And this is probably when you realize like, something's got to change. So I want everybody to be on the up and up for that message that'll be coming in this week. I'll go in depth and give you guys some themes to be watching for with this particular conjunction, especially since we're only going to be seeing this one time. While Venus retrogrades and makes a number of squares to Jupiter and Uranus, the conjunction to Mercury I think is very important, especially now that we have the South Node in Libra. So some people are probably going to be going through some old love letters this week, going and looking at some old pictures and wanting to reconnect with people and deciding whether or not they're going to be cleaning out their inbox or their text messages, or if they're getting rid of stuff relating to people from the past, because we're trying to make space for the future. While this aspect is happening, Venus and Mercury are in a trine to the North Node, directing us to be more self-focused, more dedicated to ourselves, our direction, our paths forward, and finding happiness, right? Regardless of if that's in a relationship or out of a relationship, it's being in alliance with ourselves first. North Node in Aries is going to be very strong with that theme, you guys. All right, so let's start first with today, Sunday, July 23rd. So obviously we wake up in the morning and the moon is in Libra. So with the moon in Libra, we're going to be picking up energies going on with this Venus retrograde. Now, just recently, like I said yesterday, Venus begun her retrograde. If you guys want information on that, check out the other videos that I've put out. Also, the horoscopes touch on this as well. But we're feeling just the fact that Venus has kind of been standing still for a little bit as she was getting ready to retrograde. And now that she is in her retrograde, we are feeling that things are slowing down. There can be a sense of being like, oh, something's kind of like taking time when it comes to relationship progression. Venus is connected to Libra. Libra wants to do things in partnerships or pairs. we may actually find that for us to be able to be in more relationship harmony, there is a kind of like a need to be more in touch with what's going on internally. Retrogrades aren't just about the past. Sometimes it's about turning within and being able to kind of get our own resources or our values or our needs kind of in order. Now, what I've liked about this particular retrograde is that Venus on 2 separate occasions will sit in conjunct both to Pluto as well as Neptune. So even though she kind of rubs them the wrong way, her being in these particular degrees, 27, 28 degrees of Leo, it's basically saying Venus is the focal point. There is a need with that particular point configuration to say, okay, where can I add some love? Where can I add a little bit more, right? And even if we're feeling frustrated or kind of flustered, like what we want may not necessarily match with another person, we're gonna try again. So try to use your little baby mittens as you're kind of dealing with relationships. Everybody's gonna be a little bit more sensitive, I think, especially as the moon continues to go through Libra, and it's going to start picking up conjunction to the south node, some squares also to Pluto. And while the moon is in the same sign as this new south node, we are going to start noticing over Sunday, Monday, where old patterns in relationships are actually tripping us up. Where are we people pleasing? Where are we saying yes when we should probably be saying no? Where are we being too flexible, too lenient? And also, where can relationships from the past or what lessons from the past can actually benefit us now as we move forward? I've always had like the type of perspective that relationships are constantly teaching you. Regardless of how long you stay in that relationship, you're learning something in preparation for the next person or the next interaction that you have in some form of commitment. So many of us might be kind of looking at, okay, what didn't work in past relationships, or where has there been imbalances, and how can I kind of correct that imbalance and still continue to maybe be with other people? The sun and moon are in a sextile today, so this is a nice aspect where, you know, we do want to be around other people with the moon in Libra. We do want to have fun with the sun in Leo. We just started Leo season, and Leo is now, the sun is now the dispositor for this Venus retrograde. So it helps having the sun and moon in harmony with one another, because we feel like the plans today may actually kind of go according to plan. We're not kind of getting tripped up or stuck. It's a pretty decent day on tap. However, we are going to start feeling Mercury coming into a square with Uranus in Taurus. So we've got this square energy setting up, which is in fixed signs, which means they do not want to budge. They don't want to change. Uranus in Taurus is kind of disruptive. We see changes with finances, food, resources, our values, our needs. And that's also picking up energy off of the Venus retrograde, because Venus is connected to Taurus. So when we have Mercury in Leo, which is I believe, I know, you know, I feel, coming into a square with Uranus, we're going to see a bit of like a, you know, bumping of heads that'll happen. We can feel mentally restless. There can be challenges communicating. And I definitely feel like we're kind of picking up some of this energy from the fact that Mars and Saturn have been in opposition. The last couple days have felt like there's hurdles, or there's delays, or there's speed bumps. It's just taken longer to see any progress. And likely with Mars's action and Saturn's limitation, we've been feeling stretched and unable to really get to, you know, the finish line. What we're supposed to be doing right now is looking at things going, okay, it's going to take a period of time to start to see results. And if we slow down and if we abide by the rules, we can kind of move through this. It does create an environment where people can be a little bit more condescending, especially with Mars in Virgo. People can be a little bit more like nitpicking. There can be also more challenges revolving around details. And so I think while Sunday is a day that's like, woo, we want to have fun, there is some kind of breakdown revolving around, well, how do we do it? And if this person wants to do this and that person only wants to spend this much, how can we actually find a middle ground where everybody can have fun and have the same perspective in regards to what we're participating in? So yeah, kind of a jumbled day. You've got a number of squares and oppositions, but nevertheless, the sun and moon in harmony, I think, is positive. I don't think we can not feel the Venus retrograde in the pre-shadow that we've seen this last month or so. Venus has squared off with both Jupiter and Uranus, so it's been expanding situations and then sending kind of like shock waves throughout some of our financial lives, throughout some of our romantic lives. So you may actually start to feel, now that Mercury and Venus are getting close, part of the Mercury square Uranus mental stress or communication kind of breakdown is still relating to some of these relationship issues that have started surfacing. The whole purpose of a retrograde is to kind of dig everything out and kind of clear the closets and get all of the gunk out so the planets can kind of function in the energies that they're kind of here to serve us with. So if you're feeling like, whoa, there's some relational issues going on, now you know why. This retrograde is going to go for about 40 days. We're going to be feeling it clear to the beginning of September, and it will be in several phases. So we're going to see the pre-shadow, the retrograde, the post-shadow. So some of these things are getting worked out clear until about the beginning of October. All right, so as we move into Sunday evening, going into Monday morning. All right, we're going to wake up in the morning on the 24th. There we go. And the moon is still in Libra, okay? And the moon is starting to come into an opposition with Chiron. Now, the closer that we have planets on the south node, like when the moon, especially when it meets its own south node, we're going to be feeling a lot of emotional fluctuations. There can be emotional outbursts. There can be a sense of just having to kind of, cry or let our emotions and our feelings out. So we're kind of looking at the past. And when we see planets touching on the north node, like Chiron, the Chiron north node conjunction is going to be brewing, pretty much now until next spring. It's really saying collectively, where are we going, right? So when they oppose each other, there can be a sense of feeling like we're stuck both in the past and we're also kind of worried about the future. One thing that I try to remind myself regularly is if you're doing that, where you're like, thinking about the past too much, you're stressing about the future, you're not present. And like in the present is where we make decisions about the future. So if you find that you're kind of getting stuck Monday, Tuesday in this whole, oh, this is how things have always been, but what's going to happen in the future? It's stifling your energy. Like there's no easier way to kind of put that. It's just stifling your energy. I think with the moon coming into opposition with Chiron, because that's the first aspect that it's going to be making, it's essentially saying, where are we having lots of fluctuations, changes, or emotional flare-ups in relationships as a result of unresolved personal issues? Chiron and Aries. Now, this is going to be happening at 19 degrees, which is very relational. Even in spite of that opposition, which can create some emotional flare-ups, we're going to see that the moon is going to be sextiling Mercury, so we have the opportunity to talk it out. It's going to be sextiling Venus, so we're going to have the opportunity to kind of open up to reworking and rethinking what it means to be able to live in a heart-centered way. So you have that kind of working for you throughout that particular transit. That's really the only thing that you're going to see on Monday are these lunar transits, but I do feel like they could pack a bit of a punch. So as we're getting into the afternoon on Monday, and once the moon hits 19 degrees, so this is going to be around 1 p.m. Pacific, and that's going to be around 4 p.m. Eastern, we're going to see the moon and Chiron oppose one another. That's when you want to watch for the relational issues that can be coming up, and where there's changes in relationships or people giving us feedback, we can take that personally, because Chiron in Aries is sensitive. It does not always want to be aware or observe the fact that, we can sometimes have some self-sabotaging tendencies, that we hurt other people because we have been hurt ourselves. So the moon's going to keep moving. It's going to do its thing. It will not be until the very early hours on the 25th, on Tuesday, that the moon comes into a conjunction with the south node, okay, right here. and it will square Pluto. That is very potent energy. That is making Pluto the focal point of a grand cardinal cross. So with Moon South Node, relationship clearing. This is still ruled by Venus. Venus is getting closer to Mercury. And as Venus and Mercury get closer and closer, they're going to realize, like, I think I'm ready to change something about, you know, how I am in relationship, how I'm communicating with my partner. I'm changing the direction of how I'm spending my money, what my personal, you know, perspective on my self-esteem might be. Something is going to be kind of changing. So this is a particularly, I think, difficult energy with Moon square Pluto because we feel emotionally threatened. These Pluto squares have all been about power struggles and where we're having power struggles with authority. Pluto in Capricorn is long-standing tradition and power structures, and it can be about older generations and the effect that they have on younger generations. It can be about people out in the world who are in positions of power that are actually creating so much pressure and stress collectively, I think, with this Pluto square the nodes, that it's also drumming up a lot of conflict also in relationships. And it's kind of like, you know, that Spider-Man meme where you see them like pointing at each other and they're like accusing each other of something, but really it's like a mirrored effect. That's like Libra, okay? Libra energy is like a mirror. So I could definitely see a lot of finger pointing going on Tuesday. People being like, you did this and you're toxic and blah. And then really in reality, you're serving up the very thing that you're accusing other people of. And so it becomes this habitual toxic cycle of just blaming and hurting other people. And it's very low vibration. So you guys want to be mindful that this is in the skies on Tuesday. Stay away from some of the power struggle conflicts, issues also with wanting to play the blame game. We may be very quick to observe where other people are not necessarily being fair, being balanced, right? South Node Libra with the moon is like going like they're not being a team player. They don't exactly have my back, or, you know, I was hoping that they were going to be there to support me or to, you know, assist me, and they're nowhere to be found. And so that can also create some frustration and some disappointments if people are realizing that certain relationships are having shortcomings on Tuesday. Now, then we're going to start to see the moon cross the south node 29 degrees. Okay, so that'll be around, let's see, it's going to be around 8 a.m. Pacific time and 11 a.m. on Eastern Standard Time. And when we have things hit 29 degrees, oof, it is crisis. So 29, 29, 29. And by the way, Pluto is exactly square the nodes at this moment because we have the nodes at 29 too. So yes, I do feel like there are some karmic, fateful events with Pluto square the nodes, right? But when the moon activates that, this might be the time where certain people are facing some kind of relationship breakdown. Unfortunately, it's just kind of the way the cookie crumbles. Moon's going to cross the south node. It's going to dip into Scorpio, so the vibe changes significantly midday. We're now moving into an energy where it's a little bit more moody. It's a little bit more sensitive. It's a little bit more intense. There can be themes revolving around change, purging, transformation. So now we're starting to pick up energy of Mars as well as Pluto. And so I think with Pluto square the nodes, ooh, we're feeling it. We're feeling the pressure cooker of this thing needs to die off for something else to be reborn. I don't know about you guys, but I've had some wild Pluto stuff happen throughout the last couple of days randomly. And it's like very, very, very Pluto, where it's like either the underworld or the other side or the spirit realm is like somehow connecting more with us. I know that sounds weird. I don't know. Tell me your guys' stories. If that's an experience you've had, I couldn't help but laugh. It couldn't be more literal for me. I had my phone on my desk. And I walked away, left it alone. I don't usually like lock my phone if I'm walking around the house and doing stuff, but I left it open. And I know that I left it on the home screen. And out of the blue, I was in the other room and I heard my phone ringing and I was like, that's weird. Walked into my office, and as soon as I walked in, my phone stopped ringing. When I looked at my phone, it had a missed call, but it was from an unknown number, so I couldn't figure out like who was calling me. And then I went to go and see if they left me a voicemail, and I clicked voicemail, and immediately all my deleted voicemails came up, which is super weird because, you know, you have to slide all the way to the bottom to click your deleted voicemails, and you can see what's deleted unless you're like a Virgo rising and you clear your stuff regularly. I do not. Anyway, so, you know, random call, says there's a voicemail. I look at my voicemail, I go to click it, it goes to my deleted voicemails, and it starts playing a voicemail. And it was a voicemail from 3.5, 4 years ago. That was my deceased grandmother who left me a voicemail. And it was so spooky because it was all the way down to the bottom of the deleted voicemails, and it was also like midway through the list. And I just sat back and I like looked around and I was like, okay. And I like listened to the voicemail. Anyway, it was like so bang on with Pluto going through my 4th house in a square. And I was like, oh, it's that connection to the other side. So some of you guys might notice that with the Pluto square, especially on Tuesday, there can be some spooky stuff that's going on. You know, I think we could definitely see some spooky stuff going on, some electrical interferences too, because Mercury is still kind of picking up that square to Uranus. Anyway, intensity changes. You guys are going to feel that on the 25th. The moon is going to continue to keep moving through Scorpio, and then it's going to come into a square with the sun. So it kind of feels discombobulated on the 25th. Sun square the moon is going to represent that first opening square in this lunar cycle where we're feeling the pinch and we're like, oh, something's got to change. So you might notice in the later afternoon going into the evening that there's more kind of delays, there's hang-ups, there's challenges, and the fixed signs, when they square, they don't get on very well. Now, the positive, though, is that we are going to see that the moon is going to keep moving forward, and it is going to, in the evening, pick up a trine to Saturn. So maybe with the moon in Scorpio, we are going through that crisis, that catharsis of, okay, all that relationship drama has been kind of brewing, or I got into it with so-and-so, or I kind of felt like disgruntled with this situation, and now we're emotionally stabilizing. So the moon in a trine to Saturn can be great, but I think that Saturn in Pisces is saying maybe you need to relax, meditate, you know, sit down, have some alone time, take a bath. And we've also got moon that is in a sextile to Mars, which is the traditional ruler of Scorpio. So when we're starting to feel like we're getting into a funk because of things that have been going on, do we go into crisis mode and do we, you know, kind of fall off with some of our self-care habits? Or do we say, no, I'm going to make sure that I'm actually going to do my due diligence to still go for my evening walk, still make sure that I'm going to be, you know, feeding my body a healthy meal, making sure I'm getting adequate sleep. I'm not going to do the Scorpio moon death spiral, right, into worst case scenario. The moon will continue to stay in Scorpio through the evening. We'll wake up with that moon still in Scorpio on the 26th. And when we get up in the morning, the moon is starting to come into an opposition with Jupiter. So we've got moon in Scorpio, Jupiter's down here at 13 degrees. That makes things feel bigger. Okay, so we're gonna feel like we're more likely to emotionally react or get scared or get worried or get vindictive or get freaked out over things that may be expanding or changing for us in the financial world. Maybe it's going to be in regards to our resources, banking situations. And so I do think that there can be a sense of the collective, because that's the moon, responding to, oh, there's something kind of happening here. And, you know, Scorpio generally deals with like grief and worry, and like loss. So I think people are going to be more reactive to some of these physical or financial changes that are going on in the world. Moon's going to keep moving through Scorpio. We will see as the moon continues to go through this sign, it's going to start picking up an opposition to Uranus, but that's going to be Wednesday night in the evening. Okay, going into the early morning. And really, it's going to be the morning on the 27th on Thursday where things get a little hairy. So we wake up in the morning, moon opposed Uranus, we are responding to a rapidly changing situation. We may be feeling especially anxious. I think that, with the moon in opposition to Uranus, we feel situations shifting, and Scorpio is a very psychic sign. So it can have a tendency to kind of start to feel when something is coming before it hits. At the same time, we're going to see the moon in disharmony squaring Mercury, which is the messenger, and also squaring Venus, which is still retrograde. So yet another T-square that will be setting up Thursday. Just a word to the wise, like Thursday is the day that you want to mark on your calendar that is probably going to be a little bit more challenging, all right? Like I said, with these oppositions and these T-squares, this is going to be the energy that is diffusing some of the tension emotionally between the Scorpio-Taurus axis. Now, hours later, we are going to see the moon enter Sagittarius. Vibe changes midday, we get into the afternoon, and the moon is in Sag. Take that back, early evening, the moon is in Sag. And we are also seeing Mercury and Venus in conjunction. So I know I'm throwing a lot at you, but let's go back. Looks like the Mercury-Venus conjunction is happening closer to the morning. Okay, so Thursday morning while the moon Uranus is opposing. And I feel like this can be us emotionally feeling very intense about conversations we're having, things that we're reading, something that we're learning, some kind of stressful news or situation that comes up. Remember that Venus is the ruler of the South Node now. So when Mercury is coming into conjunction with Venus retrograde, this can be about the past reaching out and wanting to connect with you. So people adding you on social media from the past, text messages from exes, hearing from people you haven't heard from in a while. But this can also be returning to places that you used to love hanging out, returning to hobbies that you love participating in, reevaluating something that maybe you're considering, working on, participating in. Venus can be about relationships. But because the sun is the dispositor of these two planets, it is very much going to be about creatives, younger people, romantic partners, taking chances, the stock market, okay? Retrogrades are about a turn of a turn of the tide. So if something's been going very well, something can kind of significantly shift. And right around 28 degrees is where this conjunction is taking place. So for those of you guys who are Virgo or Gemini rising, if you're ruled by Mercury, the fact that Venus is retrograde conjunct your ruling planet, it essentially means like something sweet is being brought back to you, something that you're either owed karmically, or maybe you're going to get a nice note from someone from the past, or somebody might owe you money. It depends on which house it's in, but that can generally be pretty favorable. For those of you guys who are Venus ruled, it can represent like a splitting, because Gemini can be two, or a separation, or two separate situations that kind of pop up that mirror each other. So Taurus and Libra, watch for that. But I believe this is the day that we essentially are reviewing the past and going like, okay, this is how things have always been done. Do I want to keep doing it this way? This is how I've always spent money. This is how I've always thought relationships or love is supposed to be. And Mercury and Venus, you have a very cerebral kind of planet, and then a very sensual and receptive and kind of feminine planet. So to bring the two together, it's almost like taking the heart and the mind and saying like, okay, guys, make a decision. Oftentimes it's situations where we're kind of going back and forth going, okay, my head says this, but my heart says that. We feel torn. So this is essentially, I think, going to be a transit where some people are going to be feeling torn. It's at 28 degrees, which is a Cancerian degree. This does represent anything revolving around home, family, location, relatives. I also feel like with the sun being at a 4, people are going to be feeling very torn about, whether or not they are resonating with where they're living, the country they're living in, the communities they're living in. There could be a change of direction that can be going on in terms of things involving property and real estate. I think a lot of people are going to be making a lot of changes revolving around how they're communicating and talking to their children, especially about security and safety around the home, you know, how to establish clear boundaries with individuals. And if they feel like those boundaries are being infringed upon, that they're able to have clear communication with their parents and their relatives. I also feel like this is a wonderful time to be doing creative work. Because there is an opportunity to be able to kind of get the gifts and the sweetness of Venus and be able to relay that and put it into, you know, writing or music or dance, something that's going to be more creative. And if you happen to have old hobbies or creative projects that you want to go back to, this might be a day where you decide that you want to kind of go and get back into it. Now, while this is happening, Lilith is here as well, okay? And so this is a little tricky because Lilith does get triggered by other planets. Essentially, Lilith is going to be about raw sexuality. It's going to be about femininity and expression and things that are very wild. And yeah, Venus Lilith is both sexy and sweet. So when you throw Mercury into the mix, I definitely think this is going to be people kind of really reevaluating, in my relationship, am I getting enough drama? Am I getting enough excitement? Am I getting enough romance? And if not, where am I being tempted into other situations, other people? Is the grass greener? And I definitely see with like Mercury Venus aspects, people start questioning where they stand in certain relationships or if they should go in a different direction. This could also be with like investments. I could see this as being a day where there's like a lot of commotion revolving around a specific stock or a particular trend that's happening in the market. And you're going to see a lot of people that are going to go, oh, I'm jumping ship. I'm going to get on the bandwagon. And what some people may realize is with the Venus-Uranus square, getting on the bandwagon with the next investment may not necessarily be smart because Venus is retrograde. She's not at full working capacity. You may find yourself in a situation where you're buying basically, you know, what everybody is talking about, and it may not necessarily be as lucrative as you thought. So watch for that. All the while, both Mercury and Venus are in a trine to the North Node. And so I kind of feel like at least that's the saving grace, where we're in this kind of like hot mess of a, you know, fixed square of the late degrees where nobody's really going to be on the same page about, you know, what they want. At least we have the trine to the North Node, which is essentially saying like, stay in your own lane. What's going to work best for you? What do you want? What are you passionate about? I've told so many clients over the last week or two, like, put on your blinders, literally. Don't be worrying about what other people are doing. Don't be comparing yourself to other people. That's not really going to work. Like, what is it? Was it Baz Luhrmann? Have you guys heard the Sunscreen song where he's like, oh, the race is long, but in the end it's with yourself? That's kind of like what this whole Venus retrograde is about, is that if you are getting lost in the drama and the commotion of what's in the headlines, what's going on in Hollywood, what's going on with, you know, drama out in the open, you're going to get distracted and it's going to keep you from staying on track with what's best for you. Don't allow yourself to give way to getting distracted right now. And yes, sometimes we have to make difficult decisions in relationships or in jobs or other situations when we know that we've hit a wall and something is not good for us, right? Sometimes what's good for us and what we want to do are two different things. Very Mercury Venus, right? Head and heart. So some of us are going to hit that kind of feeling like we're at a crossroads or between a rock and a hard place and questioning whether or not we have the difficult decision, questioning whether or not it is time to walk. Obviously, it's going to depend on your situation, but this would be a really good day to, at the very least, have a check-in with your heart space. And at the very most, be very willing to step up to the plate and say, this is what's on my mind, and this is how it affects my heart, and this is what I'm feeling, and share that information and hold the space for other people to reciprocate. The sextile to the South Node is other people can show up and they can meet you halfway. The lesson here with the North Node in Aries is learning that we are only responsible for ourselves. That's it. We can't change other people. If we preach, it's going to fall on deaf ears. If we are giving too much or staying in the wrong situations, the wrong partnership, we're doing ourselves kind of like a disloyalty. So watch for some of these challenges with that square that's going to be taking place. I want to go in depth, but let me just go through the week and then I'll give you some of my hot takes on this transit. On Friday, the 28th, we are going to see Mercury is going to enter Virgo. Okay. And by the way, while Mercury is there on Thursday, it's at the same degree that Venus started her retrograde, right? So it just keeps coming up. 28 degrees over and over. It's going to keep popping up. All right, so on the 28th, we're going to see Mercury move into Virgo. It looks like that's going to happen in the afternoon hours. We're also going to be seeing that the moon will be in Sagittarius. So yeah, you'll see at some point the moon will come into a square with Saturn and also a square with Mars. Let's look at that actually. But while the moon is in Sag, a little bit more positive, optimistic, kind of free-flowing, action-oriented, you know, happy type of vibes. But we know that when the moon goes through the mutable signs now, because Saturn is in Pisces, it's going to get checked a little bit, right? So we're going to have first the moon come into Sag. It'll square Saturn. Likely that's happening right around the time you're getting up. So we can wake up in a bit of a mood. There could definitely be a bit of a mood. But the way out of that is the sun trine the moon. And so I like that. I do feel like that's kind of like, you know what? There's delays, things happen. It's fine. We just keep it moving. Generally, when the sun and the moon trine, we see that things kind of come together naturally and there's like a little bit more free flow. And then the moon is going to keep moving after it makes that square to Saturn, and then it's going to pick up a square to Mars. And that square is going to be in the afternoon, so that'll be around 11 degrees. What does that mean? Well, changing circumstances revolving around education, international matters, something involving travel or like legal related things is somehow affecting Mars and Neptune. So it's very possible that we're hearing more about how, foreign countries are handling, tensions in other places. I think with Mars and Saturn has been like this kind of holding back from some military, operations or like deployments or like making major headlines in regards to war. I think we're going to hear about how, there is like a intention right now to kind of just keep things at bay. But nevertheless, if you are somebody who has placements within like the first 10, 11 degrees of the mutable signs, you're going to feel this crunch because the moon is going to make that aspect. But the trine to the sun, I think, kind of diffuses that a little bit. So moon keeps moving through Sag. We see Mercury go into Virgo. So it is now in the sign that it is ruled by. So it's going to have a little bit stronger kind of abilities. I do feel like this can be really positive for us when it comes to health and organization and wellness and sorting and sifting through things that do or do not work for us. I think that it's going to be interesting because Mercury is going to be going retrograde through this particular sign. So I will let you guys know where Mercury has moved for all the 12 signs in just a second. But for the most part, know that we are going to see a retrograde in this sign. Mars is here as well. So it's kind of like walking the walk and talking the talk, having both of these placements in this mutable earth sign. And throughout this transit, we're also going to see aspects to Jupiter, Uranus, as well as Pluto. So we're going to see lots of physical things change. And Mercury here can be about schedules. It can be about health, pets, coworkers. But as we know, because Saturn is in Pisces, we are going to see oppositions to Saturn, and we are also going to see oppositions to Neptune. I've thought for a while that it would be when we get into planets in Virgo that we're going to start to see the harsh realities of just the fact that I don't think we're doing as well economically as maybe the stock market seems to think, or as the local news seems to tell you. And we're going to start to see that there is very likely going to be more cutbacks and other things going on with job numbers. Obviously, touch wood, we hope not, but that's likely to happen. So Mercury's in the sign. Those of you guys who are Mercury ruled, so my Gemini and Virgo risings, you guys are going to feel this pretty strongly because this is your ruling planet. Now, then when we get into the 29th, so this will be Saturday. There we go. And this is when we wake up and the moon is in Sag still. The moon is still in Sag, it's not going anywhere. And it's going to start forming some fire trines. So we are going to have the moon trine the north node. So because we're growing, learning, expanding, and more optimistic, we're getting in touch with what we believe in, how to be more active, how to kind of be more assertive. And the moon is going to be in a trine with Venus. So we've got a nice fire trine here, which keeps things kind of, activated. I do feel like this can be inspiring other people to be talking more about love, about kindness. This can be also bringing up themes revolving around international information or things that we're learning, right? About style, fashion, money, entertainment, children. And that's going to be kind of nice actually for Saturday. I really feel like this would be a wonderful time before the moon goes into Capricorn. Like I kind of like that trine for like a date. I do. I think it could be a nice aspect. So if this were me, I would try to do something before the moon maybe comes into a square with Neptune. So date would be great on Saturday, or if you want to go and get stuff done and be, out there and hanging out with your kids or your friends or doing something fun or creative. This would be a wonderful time to do it before we get into the evening, because in the evening, we're going to start seeing the moon come into a square with Neptune. So we're kind of feeling maybe a little emotionally overwhelmed. Maybe we need a little bit more time to kind of rest and recuperate. It would be great to like do your daytime activities and then retire back at home and hang out and like have dinner, watch movies, kind of get comfortable with that square to Neptune and feel like we have a place that we can kind of rest and recuperate. But throughout this entire trine, we are seeing the square, we are seeing trines both to Venus and the North Node. So yeah, I actually really like those transits on Saturday. In the evening, the moon's going to move into Capricorn. You guys will feel that shift if you're a night owl. Moon moving into a Saturn-based sign is definitely going to start picking up the energies of Saturn. And Saturn is retrograde, and this is now taking us to late Saturday night, early Sunday morning. And with the moon in Capricorn, we're more focused on responsibility, long-term planning. It can be work. It can also be about routines, because we've got some aspects between the moon and Mercury and the moon and Mars and other planets that are going to be brewing, which leads me to believe that next Sunday on the 30th is a pretty like getting things done type of day. If you're somebody who likes to kind of prepare for the whole week, you like to maybe do your meal planning, you like to get the house clean and organized, maybe you kind of scan through your emails, you get stuff in your briefcase or your backpack or things ready to go, this would definitely be a day to do it. I know Sunday is generally our off day, but when the moon is in Capricorn, we get stuff done. Now, the moon is going to sextile Saturn, so it's actually really saying, how can we be responsible? How can we be productive? And how are we tapping into our visions? And for me, so much of Saturn in Pisces has been about getting out of my own way and really setting intentions and visualizing new routines and realizing that it's not until I'm very clear about what my intention is that I can create change. So, until I think we're really connecting those dots and we're going, yeah, we can dream about things, right? And it can be great to have ideas, but until we actually start creating routine, structured, you know, timelines and days that we're doing things, we're not actually really going to see that dream come into a reality. So what's cool is all day you're going to have the moon that is in aspect to Mercury. So we're communicating better with other people. Mercury's in its ruling sign. And we're also seeing the moon that is going to be in harmony with Mars as well as Jupiter and then eventually Uranus. But I think that's going into Monday. So the moon keeps doing its thing, right? It's going through those degrees. It's going to pick up a trine to what appears to be Mars in the early evening, depending on where you are, and also Jupiter. So it's like you guys might turn around at the end of the day and go, wow, we accomplished so much. We got so much stuff done. We were able to really kind of get things in order. There was also an opportunity to maybe feel like we could do a little bit of like, I don't know, financial upkeep, home upkeep, organization, kind of like decluttering. I'm looking at this and I'm like, yes, this is going through my fourth house. This is going to be probably when I'm going to, you know, do my cleaning and organization of my house because I know it's going to be a lot more productive. When the moon is in a trine with Jupiter too, it does enhance our emotions and our feelings. We feel things more strongly. And it also makes us more optimistic about what we're getting done. And so it does seem like there is some kind of like incentive or some kind of reward at the end of the day. So for some of you guys, it may be beneficial to be like, okay, I'm getting up and I've, you know, got a set list of things I want to get done. And when we're done, we're all going to kind of, you know, reconnect and we'll, you know, have a pizza party or we'll go out, you know, and have ice cream or, you know, we'll all go out and like watch a movie. So creating that incentive to actually get work done and then rewarding yourselves for what you were able to accomplish, I think is one of the best ways to handle Sunday. So it doesn't feel like it's all work and no play. Earth trines create physical changes, so keep in mind that that's definitely going to be a theme. And that's really like the week at a glance for the most part. Pay attention for that Venus retrograde all week. And those of you guys who are sensitive, you are going to start feeling the Mercury-Saturn opposition, okay? So you're going to start kind of feeling something similar to the Saturn-Mars opposition where, you know, Mars wanted to move forward and Saturn said no. Mercury is going to start to kind of move forward and want to communicate and be very specific. And Saturn's going to go, nope, that's not going to work. Or, you know, I don't think I'm ready for that. So be mindful that you want to be on task come the end of next weekend and prepared. And this is definitely going to be a Sunday that's going to pay to be prepared, especially if there could be miscommunications in the following week, things that go missing, people forgot to turn in reports, things like that can definitely happen. And on that note, wanting to talk to you guys about this Mercury Venus ditty. Let's go back to that. I want to wrap on that a little bit. So, on the 27th, when we have this conjunction. All right. So like I said, hearing from the past, right? So when Venus, obviously is retrograde and it's in conjunction with Mercury and Leo, it's going to feel almost as if deja vu. You guys might feel like you're having deja vu. You're like, haven't we been here before? Haven't we talked about this? Or like, haven't we been in this situation? So there can be things like that that's reminding you of the past or things that are coming back up that needs to be dealt with. We know that Venus is about love, relationships, and beauty, while Mercury is about intellect and thought process. Leo, being a fire sign, is going to be bold and expressive. So these are all the things that you want to take into consideration when this aspect is made. Outside of past romantic interests, it can also be about unresolved issues with partners that are resurfacing, and it's allowing you to reevaluate and find a potential resolution. I think that there can definitely be a real increased focus on self-expression and communication of your desires and your passions. People are going to revisit their values and their priorities, reconsidering what you find truly beautiful and important. Finding the meaning of the transit may actually, you know, come with this conjunction. If not, you guys will see it when we have the Venus Cazimi down the road. It can bring a sense of reflection and introspection in matters of love and relationships. And so, especially with the in conjunct to Neptune, I could definitely see some people being like, I don't know what I want, right? So I'm going to kind of like check out, or I don't know how to communicate. So I'm just going to get quiet, or I'm going to, you know, take a step back. So some people may not respond in a way that's loud and bold. Some people might get kind of ghosty. And I think this is also probably going to be a period where we're going to see miscommunications and misunderstandings on the rise. And it's going to require extra care in expressing yourself clearly and openly. Remember, head and heart. So if these two are not in alignment, which they naturally generally are not, there is going to be a sense of kind of putting your foot in your mouth sometimes and not being able to express yourself appropriately. Now, I do feel like it can be really positive for looking at things that have happened in the past, looking at experiences that have taken place, conversations that you have had, and being able to make the reconnections and go, I've been here before, do I want to stay on this ride? And likely with Venus coming into a square with Uranus, we are seeing that if we continue in some of these patterns that might be like trauma drama, it's actually having like a negative impact on Uranus and Taurus, our nervous system, our finances, our self-esteem, our physical security, our connection to our bodies and this planet. And I think that fear, drama, negative emotion, pain, these are all things that get us out of our body. These are all things that keep us from being able to be grounded and level-headed and being able to make solid decisions and be in the right now. So there is almost a astrological storm that's kind of brewing that's like, okay, everybody's going to get hit, but the people who are getting hit are likely having things come up because they're not aware of it. Right? So I've had transits where I'm like, wow, this should be really like difficult. And like, I'm just kind of cruising. And my interpretation is like, okay, that department in that situation, that one area, it's pretty neat. It's pretty clean. But there's other transits I've had where it you know, might be a Mercury retrograde, but it hits me really hard. And I always look at that and go, clearly I'm not as aware of some of these things. And these events that are taking place where I'm struggling is bringing that sense of awareness, making me realize this is something that needs to be cleaned up. We need to be aware of it so we can actively work with it and we can kind of wipe it out. So if you're somebody who's like, I'm doing great, this has been good for me, you know, I'm really reflecting and doing my work, awesome, but still keep that little bubble around you, right? When you leave your house and you grab your keys and your wallet and your purse, you just make that mental kind of mindset to be like, I'm not going to get splattered with other people's trauma when I go out. I'm staying in my own lane is very important, because with Venus retrograde, square Uranus in Taurus, and Jupiter, we are going to start being in places, right? Leo can be theaters, it can be live concerts, it can be you know, children's schools or even high schools, it can be bars, it can be casinos, where there is definitely going to be something that's off that can very much physically or financially affect us. A lot of people have asked me about remedies, and so just some simple stuff that I've like recommended doing and some things that I will be doing is doing work with Venus on Fridays. Definitely I'm making an effort to, you know, keep yellow flowers in the house, and, you know, I like to put out some honey, or I like to put out some gold crystals or some gold jewelry or something for Venus on Friday, and just having something sweet for her. It doesn't have to be anything crazy, but that willingness to go, okay, you know, I know that you're not totally pleased. Let me give you what you need to just kind of continue to bring blessing and health to my space. I would appreciate it. And you can do the same thing. So I would recommend doing that, or you can look at where Leo is in your chart and you can see which area of your life you want to be bringing the sweetness in, so you can kind of counterbalance some of that stuff. Also, watch for opportunities for rethinking creative pursuits. So if you're an artist, a creator, you know, this conjunction, like I said, can give you an opportunity to reevaluate, you know, what you're working on and rethink your vision. Intellectual reflections are definitely going to come up, I think, with Mercury being involved. And this can lead to a reevaluation of belief, ideas, and ways of thinking about certain topics. Self-expression and confidence may be huge themes as well. I think some people are going to have the opportunity to really showcase their unique qualities. And last but certainly not least, nostalgia and being more sentimental. So this retrograde, especially with Mercury, can invoke feelings of nostalgia and being more sentimental. People might be more drawn to memories of happier times or seek comfort in revisiting hobbies or interests. Keep in mind, like I said, that the sun rules Venus and Mercury. So board games, right, come to mind, hobbies and things that you played when you were like a kid, maybe like, toys and other things that you may have like partook in might make a comeback. And Mercury also being very much connected to Mars does make me feel like some people are going to be willing to spend a little bit more, do a little bit more to bring that feeling back, right? This will be the summer of some people probably spending a little bit more than they'd like on some things and doing it in the name of having fun or doing it in the name of, love or romance because they want to give like a gaudy gift or have an expensive experience. But for some of you guys, a lot of this transit is realizing that A, love shouldn't cost anything, and B, having fun shouldn't break the bank. If you keep these two things in mind, it's going to make this summer go a whole lot easier. And especially those of you guys who are like in your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, if you have kids, right? Doing the things you used to do with your kids, pre-iPods, pre-internet, and all of that stuff is golden, pun intended. I always laugh because I'm like, I grew up in a time where I definitely remember the internet being a thing, but I also remember going out and playing in the neighborhood and like not having a cell phone and having like a bike and just going and doing your thing and then coming back before the sun went down. It might be a really interesting time this summer to spend time with younger people and encourage them to put their phones away, to check out for a little bit, to not be taking pictures and putting it on social media, to be going and hanging out and, playing with their siblings or playing games or anything that is going to encourage them to be more creative and to be having fun. So if you happen to have some of these like nostalgic things that you can kind of, bring to younger people and show them that it doesn't have to be this constant state of being stifled or being scared or that we can't go out and do things or that the world is not safe. I think it's going to be not only beneficial for them, but it's also going to be beneficial for you in showing you that you have control and you can create your own reality, that we do not have to be perpetuating this fear cycle and teaching children that the world is not safe. So I'm hoping that people do that. I know that this is definitely going to cause a little bit of a ruckus because people change their mind with the Mercury-Venus conjunction. So I'm curious to see how this plays out. Let me take you guys through the 12 rising signs really quick, and I want to show you where this is taking place. As always, I am a Western astrologer, so I focus on Western astrology. You're going to make the most of my predictions by listening to your rising sign. I'm going to do this via whole sign, so you guys can see it with a whole sign perspective. Listen to your rising sign, then you can listen to your sun and your moon sign if you would like. And this is specifically going to be on the Venus-Mercury conjunction that's taking place, okay? So for Aries and Aries rising, you have Mercury and Venus coming into conjunction in your 5th house. For starters, this is happening in a fellow fire sign. So you will see that the Mercury-Venus in your 5th is in a trine to your sign, and more specifically to the North Node in your sign. Essentially, right now with your 7th house and your 2nd house ruler in the 5th, maybe you're investing a little bit more money in having fun, especially with partners. Maybe you're thinking more about indulging in hobbies or creative projects. And with Mercury coming into conjunction with Venus, to me, it looks like you're trying to get that on track, get that on a schedule. Maybe you're thinking about finding ways to start writing creatively, or maybe you're trying to create more time, in your schedule for being able to have more fun. I do think with the sun going through this part of the sky as well, it's definitely shining a light on, what is going to bring you the most joy? Where are you going to have the most pleasure? Yes, you can see some challenges here where there can be a sense of you kind of realizing like, okay, there may need to be a change in a relationship, or I might need to, you know, connect with somebody from the past. But the question is, with Mercury being involved, is it worth opening that door? Is it worth talking to that person? Is that really going to bring you total joy and fulfillment, right? That is the question. Good luck, Aries. So we've got Taurus and Taurus rising. You're going to have Venus retrograde conjunct Mercury. This will be taking place in your natal 4th house. Obviously, Taurus, the Venus retrograde is important for you because it rules your chart. Venus is retrograding through your 4th, which deals with home, family, property, and your roots, the past. And it's in conjunction with Mercury. So Mercury rules your 5th house of children, your 2nd house of money and resources. It is possible that you are spending more time focusing on your home, your roots, your family. Maybe you're creating like a fun place, or maybe you're just trying to do more at home with your family. There can be a sense of people coming back and visiting you. That can happen. Maybe you're also changing direction where it comes to what you're investing into your home. So maybe you're having to talk to partners or talking to family members about the kind of space that you're looking for and how much you want to spend on changing apartments, changing homes, something like that. And it can also be for those of you guys who have children, you know, they can be coming back and visiting you over the summertime. And it can be about, you know, you having like an epiphany or an awareness about, you know, what's actually going to make you happy within the home. And you'll be, you know, considering investing on that. So it could be something as simple as like, you know, I'd like to get a PlayStation so I can, you know, play PlayStation again because I like doing that when I was a kid and I'm gonna do that with my kids. Or it can be, you know, let's create a game room, you know, or something where we can kind of all hang out and, you know, spend time together. But you're gonna make some kind of investment like that that's gonna bring, I think, happiness into the home, or reconnect with a romantic person or a child. Good luck. For Gemini and Gemini rising, you're going to have Mercury conjunct Venus retrograde in your natal 3rd house. Kind of a sweet aspect for you, Gemini, because Venus is, you know, returning. So Venus has connections to your 5th house of children and creativity, your 12th house of what's hidden and subconscious. To me, you know, in the 3rd house, it does look like it could be a day of feeling divinely inspired. Deciding to have conversations about what you love, who you love. It may be a time where you get a text message or an email or a phone call from somebody unexpectedly that's like an admirer or somebody who's connecting from the past. You may also connect with somebody in your local neighborhood, or there could be like a neighbor that's got like an interest in you, or somebody who invites you over to kind of like hang out and have a get together. And if you are somebody who's into like writing, journaling, podcasting, drawing, designing, this can be a day where there's a lot of inspiration that's coming through for you, and you're feeling super blessed creatively by Venus. Pay attention to dreams. Any significant dreams that come up, definitely write them down, because they can be giving you an indication of what direction you're either taking in where you're living, what you're learning, or your relationships. Good luck. For Cancer and Cancer rising, we are going to see Mercury conjunct Venus retrograde in Leo in your natal 2nd house. Okay, so the 2nd house is about possessions, money, resources, self-esteem, and spending power. Mercury rules your 3rd house of communication, cars, and documents. It also has connections to your 12th house of what's hidden and subconscious. I'm wondering, for some of you guys, is this about you getting something back? Is there something owed to you? Does somebody have a document? Is somebody borrowing your car? Is there something that a sibling has that they need to give back to you? Is there something that a family member has that they need to give back to you? Something is physically returning back to you. Now, this is a good aspect because it may indicate that, you know, you got like a guardian angel or somebody who's going to be blessing you and giving you something that you may not see coming. It can be a check. It can be some kind of financial support. It can be somebody giving you also a contract to kind of look over. This is definitely a day that I would be a little bit more mindful of reading the fine print, especially with financial situations. But I do feel like a lot of this is about getting in alignment with your self-esteem and like really getting clear with what your worth is. And as these planets come into a trine with the North Node, it can be really beneficial in opening up your future career potential. So to me, it looks like it can be like there's a job opportunity, or there's like an opportunity for you to take something that either you own and invest into something else, or investing in yourself and seeing that that pays off in the long run. Good luck, Cancer. For Leo and Leo rising, you are going to be seeing Mercury conjunct Venus retrograde in your sign. Likely in the first house, this is going to be about you realizing a goal has changed. Okay, so Mercury is connected to your 11th house of goals, friends, and associations, and your second house of possessions and resources and self-esteem. So while Venus is retrograde in your first house, and you got a number of planets in your first house, a lot of focus on yourself, your appearance, your body, and your self-love. As Mercury and Venus connect, I think it's about you realizing your worth. It might also be that you change direction with something that you were thinking about buying or purchasing or investing in. Maybe you are doing something different when it comes to how you are spending your money, and suddenly there's like a new financial goal that's kind of showing up. Maybe perhaps you're also in a situation where you're anticipating, getting ready to bring more money in at work, or there's some major things kind of expanding, and so you're kind of going through like a personal rebranding, or maybe you're doing like a extended makeover on yourself here. I definitely think that I would be careful also with purchases and investments with this conjunction. You want to wait and see how some things play out, and as you start seeing other planets come into your second house and start trining in like Virgo season, might be a better time for making some financial changes. But I do think that you're going to kind of change your mind a little bit with how you want to look, how you want people to perceive you, or something about your spending habits. Good luck. Virgo and Virgo rising, you're going to have Venus retrograde in conjunction to Mercury in Leo in your natal 12th house. This is significant because Mercury rules your chart, and it also is connected to your 10th house. So wherever Mercury goes, kind of like Gemini, it affects you. So Mercury is conjunct Venus, and it's in the late degrees. So for my Virgo risings, the late degrees here, it represents self-undoing. It's like, where am I spending too much? Where am I indulging too much? Where am I fantasizing too much? There could be a sense of too much. Or hiding out a little bit, that's possible. Or overanalyzing maybe a romantic situation, over fixating on, what you do or do not possess can definitely come up here as well. Venus has a connection to your second house as well as your 9th house. So some of you guys may be in a situation where you're trying to make decisions revolving around travel, relationship abroad, or with somebody at a distance. There can be a need to really clear out the karmic cobwebs of old relationships and things that it's really time to kind of cut or turn loose. I think it's a huge connection, honestly, also to the inconjunct to Pluto and also Neptune, where if you're having challenges in relationships, or if you're having challenges with happiness, a lot of it is as a result of carrying some kind of baggage emotionally that needs to be cleared. So this might be the day where you have a dream, you have a feeling, you have a conversation, and you're like, I just have to let this go. I can't continue living in fantasy land, or, hoping that something is going to happen. I have to be more open to what the future holds. Good luck. For my Libra and Libra risings, you will be experiencing Venus retrograde in conjunction with Mercury in your 11th house. Obviously, this is important for you, Libra, because you're ruled by Venus. So as Venus is retrograde in conjunction with Mercury, that tells me that there can be some hidden information in regards to a friend that comes out, a secret, maybe some gossip. Maybe it can be something that was kind of hidden from you, or it's something that was like, yeah, it was like a secret. Maybe you have a dream that gives you some insight about a friendship, or maybe somebody who has been kind of missing for a little while returns and reaches out to you in some way. It might be you that you reconnect with someone as well. It can be with a friend, or somebody who might be like in a network. Mercury also rules the 9th house. So it's possible, like if you have clients, or if you have like a mentor, or if you've got, somebody who is like a teacher or a guru, or people abroad can be reaching out to you and trying to connect with you here as well. I do feel like because you're the one, right? Venus is retrograding. It can be also about you letting certain people know where you've been, or something that you have experienced, and like letting them know, hey, I'm still here. I also think because Venus has connections to your 8th house, it's about sharing and being more vulnerable and intimate with some of your friends, and letting them know that, you're either needing support, or that you're wanting to kind of work with them. But obviously, Mercury being connected to your 12th house does make me wonder if you start to see some shadow qualities in like a friendship or in a relationship, and you're like, I don't really necessarily know if this is for me. So pay attention to your gut feelings, and if you get any hunches, and if you think that there's something else going on that you need to be aware of. Good luck. All right, we've got Scorpio rising. You'll be experiencing Venus retrograde in Leo in conjunction to Mercury in Leo, taking place in your natal 10th house. So this is kind of big for you, Scorpio. You do have all of this focal point of this energy with Leo, and also Taurus, that's bringing so much attention to your public image, your reputation, your career. Now, Venus rules your relationship, partners, spouses, significant others, and also anybody who, you're in a collaboration with. And Venus is obviously retrograde in conjunction to Mercury, which basically means something is changing at work, or some direction is kind of shifting in regards to your purpose. Maybe there is like a woman who reconnects with you who you used to work with. Maybe you are reorganizing some kind of business relationship. Maybe there is a lot of going back and forth with a partner about joint resources or investments. Also, Mercury's connection to the 5th house can be you going back and forth and trying to find ways to better partner with people, right? To be able to kind of brainstorm a little bit and kind of strategize what direction you're going in when it comes to the work that you're kind of putting out into the world. If you happen to have any placements in the late degrees of Scorpio, this is going to be a little bit more difficult for you, because it's going to be directly square your sun, moon, or rising. But for the most part, a lot of what's changing for you professionally is as a result of like a relationship or a partner or your audience. Some of you guys are going back to work. Some of you guys are, taking a bit of like a hiatus, while other people are in the stages of preparing to release something new in the fall. So depends on where you stand with that, but just know that a little bit of like a back and forth in regards to you either connecting with somebody that you used to work with, or a group of people, can definitely kind of pop up, which can put a little bit of pressure maybe on an existing relationship, or maybe a little bit of pressure on an existing professional relationship, and have you feeling like maybe you're between a rock and a hard place. Good luck, Scorpio. For Sag and Sag rising, you will be experiencing Venus retrograde in conjunction with Mercury. This is going to be in your natal 9th house. And this is in a similar sign. So this is in a sister sign. So Sagittarius, sun, moon, and rising, this will be trining you in some way. And I actually really feel like for Sag risings, especially with the moon going through Sag, you might notice that this is also going to be about like listening to your intuition and knowing when to make moves or make decisions or take chances. And that moon will eventually be trying this, as well as the North Node in the 5th. So what does it mean? Number one, action is required on your part, or tapping into your emotions. Mercury rules your career as well as your relationships, and the retrograde is going through your natal 9th house. So Venus, which is about, you know, friends, it can be about a woman, especially people you used to work with, is retrograde in conjunction with Mercury. It's possible that if you had a falling out with a friend or somebody that you have worked with, there can be like a reconnection. It also makes me feel like it is possible that you're rethinking something about what your belief system is. Maybe you're thinking about making a trip, planning and returning back somewhere. Maybe you're making a change in a direction with education or something regarding like a marketing campaign. The list really goes on. But thankfully, it's all in a trine to the North Node. So I could see some Sag and Sag risings being like, I'm seriously thinking more about doing some kind of training that allows me to have a side hustle or work for myself or do something that is going to be feeling like more fun or more creative. So I like that aspect for you. And it may require you to need to talk with like a teacher or a mentor. And I think that's part of like the Mercury-Venus connection that comes up. Good luck. All right, so this is going to be for Capricorn and Capricorn rising. Let me take this back. There we go. All right, so this is going to be for Capricorn and Capricorn rising. You are going to be experiencing Mercury conjunct Venus, which is retrograde in Leo. This will be taking place in your natal 8th house, which is more passionate, secretive, taboo, a little hidden. Venus has got connections to your career and reputation, as well as creativity and what you love and taking chances. So you've got this retrograde going on in your 8th house where there seems to be a bit of like a back and forth revolving around what you're owed from somebody else, a tax situation, a situation involving a joint resource with a partner or a spouse. It can also be about like an insurance matter. It can be about negotiating something revolving around a raise or benefits. And Mercury comes into conjunction. So likely, to me, this seems like this is going to be a day where there's going to be some kind of communication going on revolving around law, legality, or travel, or perhaps also a schedule of some sort that's kind of getting worked out. So you might get like hit with, there's a timeline, this document has to be sent within X amount of, days or weeks, in order for you to qualify for, the repayment of something or for the reimbursement. You have to file or you have to send something in. And so it seems kind of like maybe busy work, but I think that it could actually be something that's beneficial. Just read the fine print. And something might change in regards to somebody else's income. It's the other thing that kind of comes up here. And if you're thinking about refinancing something or doing debt consolidation, I could definitely see some of you guys considering doing that with this particular conjunction, because you might be seeing if you can apply to kind of move debt around or get something paid off through assistance, from a loan. Good luck. We've got Aquarius and Aquarius rising. You will be experiencing Mercury conjunct Venus retrograde in Leo in your 7th house. I would definitely say like Aquarius and Aries. You guys, I think, are the two signs that are more so likely to be hearing back from past relationships. But this retrograde's in your house of relationships, right? So Mercury is connected to secrets and what's subconscious and hidden. And it's also it's also connected to your 5th house of playmates, children, younger people, creative partners, and the retrograde's in your 7th. So there can be a sense of you going back and forth if you're committed with being like, are we okay? Like, are we good with our intimate life? Like, is there something we need to talk about? Are we on the same page about our emotions and our feelings? And I could also see this being a time for those of you guys who are single where there is some kind of secret communication, or there's some kind of temptation, or somebody who comes in from the past or reconnects to you. And those of you guys who are even partnered, you might see this happen because you've got a number of planets in your 7th house. And this is doubles, right? These two together are about doubles. I could also see for some of you guys that, you know, the connection that you're getting from another person is somebody who's further away. So it is possible that, you know, you're hearing from somebody who lives in a different city or they live in a different country, trying to kind of reconnect with you in some capacity. Can also be a time where you consider reconnecting with teachers, mentors, gurus, counselors. Seventh house can also be your astrologer. So some of you guys might say, I'm gonna call them and you know, schedule an appointment and reconnect with them and see what's going on in my love life, because likely it feels like it's very active. And I think that the squares that you're seeing building to Uranus in your fourth house is trying to get you to deal with the past, or it's trying to get you to deal with an ever-changing home situation. So something about this makes me wonder, is it that partners are changing their mind? Are they making, you know, some kind of, you know, statement about, you know, their financial situation, and how does that potentially help or hinder you emotionally or when it comes to your home base? That is the question. I would imagine there's just a lot here brewing, you know, just with some of the squares and the fact that we are getting ready to see a full moon. That's going to be in your sign pretty quick, and that's going to show you very, very quickly where you stand with other people. So watch the communication that you're having with partners with this conjunction, because likely you're going to be getting a little snippet of what the future holds and what the circumstances are going to be around the full moon. And then for Pisces and Pisces rising, you are going to have Mercury conjunct Venus, which is retrograde in Leo, in your 6th house of health, habits, and daily routine. All right, so this can be a little bit more challenging for you guys. Definitely having a whole slew of planets in your 6th house is like work, delay, sacrifice, health, you know, your pets, the things that you need to take care of, you know, showing up, being on time, all that fun stuff. Venus rules how you think, how you communicate, how you learn. It's also about transportation or contracts, and the 8th house of what's hidden, secretive, or taboo. So I could see there is like a little bit of connecting and, you know, maybe talking to, talking to partners about, you know, why maybe they've been a little MIA or why they've been a little distant. If you're in a relationship, you can feel that, especially with all these planets in your 6th. There can also be a sense of something coming back to you. So some results, a document, an email, something that you've been waiting to look at. The 6th house can also deal with like debt and loans. So there can also be a sense of you looking at some of your terms for a loan, or maybe you're like looking at making a change in your schedule. That can also pop up here as well. But definitely something relating to partners. I feel very strongly it's going to be about you talking to partners about, you know, what needs to potentially be changing, and ways that you guys can better kind of communicate and find ways through some of the stuff maybe that's kind of been challenging recently. I know that you're getting affected with the Mars-Saturn opposition that's been kind of brewing, and the truth is you have a whole slew of planets. You know, Mercury and the Sun are going to come into opposition with Saturn, so you may see a situation where you're telling somebody, I need some space, you know, just like, you know, give me some time and I'll come around. But I think this conjunction is about starting to see and realize where something when it comes to your health, your relationships, your schedule is out of whack and it needs to shift. And likely you're feeling very strongly about wanting to get your house, your home, or your health in order. And so I would encourage you to do that, because it can give you a little bit of a break from feeling like flustered with, you know, relationship challenges or delays at work or like issues with coworkers. Okay, so getting organized can kind of really help you with this transit. And if you don't know how to do these things, asking for help is likely going to be the key. Learning to say with this conjunction, hey, I don't know how to do this, or I think you could do it better. You know, can you assist me? Watch for the past. I'm curious to hear your guys' experience with this particular conjunction. It's so significant considering this is the degree that Venus retrograded at, and we're still going to see lots of reactivations with this point. Keep checking in with yourselves to make sure that whatever you're going through really kind of resonates on a heart level. I'll be back here, obviously, Tuesday and Thursday this week. We've got horoscopes coming out for August this week. So that's going to be going live on Thursday. We'll also be touching on some other transits throughout the week. Friday, I'll be doing live astrology readings on the channel. So if you'd like to get a reading by donation, I will post the link early in my community tab. You can sign up and make your donation there by putting in your birth information and also your question in the memo box on PayPal. You just go to the link and you can scan the QR code and you can get in the queue. Usually it's a very long line, so I do recommend joining early if that's something that you guys want to do so you don't have to wait a couple hours. We will be here at 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern. Even if you just want to come and watch and hang out, you can do that too. We always have like a nice group of people there. If you guys want to book a personal reading with me, you can do so by heading over to my website at beyondtheveiledtarot.com. If you guys click the drop-down menu below, you'll be able to see all of the links in the description. You can go to my website, and while you're there, make sure you sign up for my newsletter so you're alerted when I have new content and specials and other things that are coming out. Do check that out because we've got like a Venus retrograde webinar. I've got how to beginner tarot and astrology courses that are digital courses where you can study at your own pace. I've got book links also that go to all the books on my channel. So if you want to study on your own and you want to see what I'm reading, you can check that out. We've got astrology candles and all kinds of other things that's there as well. So check it out if that's something that interests you. Leave me your likes, your comments, and your shares below. Any interaction or thumbs up with the channel is really helpful for helping the channel grow. It's because you guys are doing that we've seen so much growth on this page. So I just want to say thank you guys so much to all of you guys who are subscribers or members, or if you're somebody who donates. I really appreciate it. You guys make it possible for me to keep coming back and doing this every single day. So thank you, and I'll see you guys here next Sunday where we're going to talk all about the astrology for August of 2023. Wishing you guys a good rest of your weekend, and I will see all of you very soon. Take care.